Hey everyone, Margaret Brown here, CEO and founder of SocializeLA.com, and I am with a crew today. We're here with Coffee Talk with Faryn and Lance, who you'll hear from a little bit more. Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Coffee Talk.
Coffee Talk. Lance's mug will be to his home soon. Unfortunately, not soon enough for this live. But Lance, we are so excited to have you here.
Yeah, I'm just happy to talk to you guys in general.
I know. So we are going to keep this 100 as far as, this is Coffee Talk. We're here to talk about marketing, trends, business. And it just so happens, again, I'm going to repeat it. Faryn and I work together here at SocializeLA.com. We also happen to be attached at the hip. And we went to high school together and we lived in New York together. And so, we're kind of like living the dream where we get to work together and it just helps, be able to talk to your BFF every single day. So with all that said, you might be thinking, who's Lance? Who in the world is Lance?
How did he fit in?
How in the world did Lance get here? And I was already super worried about this show when Faryn said, hey, we should have Lance on the show months ago. And I said, oh yeah, that'll just be super fun. We'll just laugh the entire time. So Lance actually goes just as far back for me as Faryn does, but you two have known each other for a lot longer.
Yeah, Faryn's been one of my best friends since I was like second grade. And then like
elementary.
Our parents are friends and whatever. And then so we've been friends the whole time. And then I remember when you came into the picture in high school, you like automatically plugged in and felt like someone that I've known forever.
Yeah.
And it's been cool. I was like telling my fiance the other day, I'm like, yeah, these two girls plus our friend Erin, like us and my brother and Nate, we always get to get dinner together like once a year. But yeah, you plugged right in and felt like someone you've known forever. That's why it's cool for me to see you guys were obviously always friends, and then you went, your own career paths, which is totally normal, and had, from an outsider, like some success. And then now to see you guys back working together when your relationship never took a pause, it's like, oh, this is really, it's good optics.
Well, and that's just how it always feels every time we talk, even if it's been a little while. It just feels like we picked right back up where we left off. And seeing you and like our little annual get-togethers, which I'm so missing this year because of COVID, and it's been longer than it usually is, since we get together in person. But we just laugh the whole time, and it just really that feeling that we never miss a beat just comes right back. And I think that translates for both personal life and as well as the work that we do for our clients. It comes through because we're actually having fun together.
I think oh my gosh, so much that you just said. I'm like, yes. But like going back to how we just plugged in. So I graduated in 9th grade is when I met Lance. Actually, I remember the day I met Lance and Mike. Lance has a twin, if you don't know this. And I remember I met them at orientation, but I was already plugged in through Brooke and through Stacy. So that's how it all like first started. So anyway, I'm sure you guys would love to know our entire how we met story.
That's another coffee talk.
Yeah. But what's super interesting is that the three of us have gone down our career paths. Here we are. Do you all mind if I say how long it's been? No, I don't care either. I turned 40 in December.
Wait, December what?
13th.
I'm 3 days after you.
Yeah. So we, it's been 20 years since we graduated high school. And it's been so interesting to see. And I think it's just been so interesting to see our career, like our group of friends, the careers everyone's taken, a lot of creatives in our group of friends, so many creatives. And I never in a million years would have thought Faryn and I would ever work together. I mean, Faryn, your resume is just unreal. I went the way of small business owner. So my corporate resume kind of stopped at a certain time of my life. And not to say that that's worse or better, but it just was different. But all the while, there was going to be a time where we were able to come back. So having Faryn here as our director of strategy is really such a blessing, and it just shocks me every time. And what we're doing for our clients, and what our clients don't understand, because we don't tell them, we don't lead with this and say, well, Faryn and I are actually really good friends and we work really well together. But we practice what we preach, and this will kind of start tying us into marketing, is that relationships are everything. Marketing is not about getting someone to take your dangling carrot. It's about relationships. It's also about the people who are guiding your marketing. Speaking with a new client, they have someone who is guiding their marketing, who there's a personality thing there, and there's not a really solid relationship building strategy that goes hand in hand with this person, and it shows in the marketing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so I think that a lot of it is
your ability. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
And not just marketing, any sort of outward-facing person, because every job I've ever had, whether I was working for myself or someone else, I've always been, if not one of the most outward-facing people. And it's your ability to just move within circles and have like natural conversations. That I think kind of speaks to what you're saying. It helps you accomplish your goals by just like someone, especially in my industry where it's skateboarding, snowboarding, like the Peter Pan effect, like where people they don't want to let go of their lifestyle. And if doing business with me makes them feel like they're not doing business and they're just continuing their lifestyle, then.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I love that. And just so you know, I have a piece of art. I can't get up and get it, but it's Peter Pan flying over Big Ben, because we have a very strict policy in my family that nobody needs to grow up. And I think that's like one of the things that lends to the fact that every time I'm telling people that I'm turning 40, their jaws drop. Mm-hmm. They can't, they're like, this is 40. This is right here on the screen. So, but anyway, relationships, so important. We've somehow managed to stay friends this whole, these seasons of life. Again, so busy, traveling the world, Lance. I mean, having a family, getting married, getting engaged. I mean, all these things. And so I was saying how it's exciting to work with Faryn, and there's so many possibilities. I mean, what we say, be wildly excited about the possibilities. Faryn and I are just scratching the surface along with the rest of the Socialize LA team. And then having you here, Lance, is super exciting because, I mean, we respect you as a friend, as a brother. And then, of course, your career. It's been exciting to see your sports career, but also see the business side of what you've done in the industry. And so I want Lance to talk to us about that. And then I think that's all I wanted to open with. Did I miss anything, Faryn?
Do you want to just do a little intro about Lance and what he, current role, or we can turn it over to him, but basically, the topic that we want to talk about today and why, and kind of how it's relevant for the three of us to talk about it.
Go for it.
I can jump in with that. So we obviously have a lot of things that really all do stem from this idea of relationships. And in talking to Lance about what could we talk about, what could be really some interesting nuggets that we could bring from Lance's career in the action sports world over to the Flex Your Influence and Socialize LA audience. And we started talking about the concept of influencers. And Lance has a really unique perspective on influencers as a marketing channel, at different ways that we can leverage them. And we thought that would be really interesting because the idea of influencers is sometimes intimidating for the clients that we work with, because, as Margaret said, it's a lot of small businesses, it's nonprofits, it's sometimes very small teams, and they think, oh, influencers, that's Kim Kardashian. Like, what can that help me with in my business? But there's a big world and a large scale. And I think that's a lot of what we want to talk about today. We want to hear from Lance and just let you kind of introduce yourself, tell us your take on influencers, and then we can kind of help relate that topic to the Socialize LA audience.
And one more thing, Lance, could you give people a little bit of a background as to how you got to where you are now? Because I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, I'll give a quick one. It's a little it's it's probably not your average road, but and I think it will give some context on my point of view for influencers. But yeah, like when we knew each other back in high school and everything else, my brother and I were like the snowboarders of the town or whatever. And so when I was like 15 years old, where a lot of kids that I was friends with, like partying and making mistakes or whatever you want to call it, I wasn't doing any of that, and I was focused on snowboarding. And so not that I like knew exactly what my path was, but I think and this is patting myself on the back a little bit, but in hindsight, I appreciate this about myself, because I knew myself really well for basically a child. And when I was 15, I was like, I'm going to go to school for marketing, become an amateur snowboarder. I didn't say pro, I said amateur. Become an amateur snowboarder, graduate, become a team manager, and then start my own business. And I did exactly that. And an amateur snowboarder is different than you would think. Like for a lot of sports, being an amateur snowboarder is on the cusp of being pro. Like your sponsors are working with you, and it's really in your hands whether you push it forward. And so I made that happen, but I was so focused on school that I don't think I had it in my brain that I had to. Like I wasn't staying up at night, with the drive to become a pro snowboarder. I just had the talent and the network. Or I don't know, maybe I didn't have the talent, but and then I started. I got like a highly coveted team managing job at K2 Snowboards, which at the time was the second biggest snowboard brand. And when those team manager jobs come up, it's like everybody wants it, because it's almost like if you're a pro, it's that second lifespan of that traveling and doing whatever, or it's just a really like cool job. And I got lucky and I got it, and I did that for a year. But I was 25 when I got it, 26 when I quit. So I was there for literally 1 year. I moved to Seattle June 19th of 2006, and I moved out of Seattle June 19th of 2007. So literally 1 year in Seattle. Hated the city. Like visiting it, totally fine. Like visiting it, but it was just too. Like I felt like it's indoors constantly. But I did that for a year. But just like every other 26-year-old, I thought I knew everything. I had it all figured out. I have the best opinions, and which is fine. Like you should assume that your opinions are the best. That's why you hold those opinions. And then, so I wanted to start my own thing. So my brother and I, actually, me and Brooke's husband, Mike Tobia, we started toying out the idea of starting a snowboard brand, but he wasn't ready. And then our other friend Nima, whoa, you hear that? My voice coming through?
Yeah, I think it's gone now.
Okay. One of our good friends at the time was a pretty popular pro snowboarder, and he blew his knee out. And so we just decided to do a goggle brand, make eyewear, like sunglasses and snowboard goggles. Did that, but I had set myself, I was always cognizant of like creating a kind of thought leader. Like I was trying to be a thought leader within snowboarding, and it wasn't like how it is now where you have social media and stuff. It's just amongst my peers.
Thought leader was a term that we used.
Wait, what?
A thought leader before the term thought leader was widely used.
I'm going to write a little post-it here, because we are going to talk about that, how we are now like the historians of marketing. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but I love it.
Quick transition from where we were to where we are now. But yeah, so I was always cognizant of that because I knew it was important to me, like my personal brand as a marketing person, being someone who people have to trust automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we launched, it was as easy as calling. Like we had our targets of like riders that we wanted on the team, like professional riders, which when you're young, that's super important, always important. It's who your brand is, but just calling like, hey, what's up? We're starting our own sunglass brand, Goggle brand. Do you want to ride for us? Yes. Didn't have to explain anything else. Did that a year later, and it caught fire. Like I was bringing along a bunch of the right people. So there was a movement in snowboarding, and it was just kind of fizzling, right? Like a little bit over here in Tahoe, a little bit over here in Minnesota and Quebec, and just kind of was a little bit everywhere. And I just started pulling the strings and bringing them all together. So it went from like people who were just enjoying the same content and sort of starting kind of do the same thing to all of a sudden it's a crew.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, it just blew up. So then we started Videograss, which was a snowboard video production company, which was...
Oh, I remember that.
It's still going on. We gifted it to the director because he deserved to own the company and took it on. But yeah, so that was sort of an amplification of what we were already doing in like kind of creating this niche. And so for the next 10 years, I did that and just really focused on servicing this community in snowboarding that, you know, not that I created, but that me and some people sort of created or took advantage of. But then we had a falling out with our partner. My brother and I and the other guy had a falling out, and we and I just like I accomplished all these goals as far as like being able to have a significant influence on your favorite thing in the world, on the culture of it, is something that most people go their whole lives without accomplishing. And I did that, and
Wow.
I'm still to this day proud of it. But from a kind of financial or monetary, like where I was in my life, I was not where I wanted to be. So I just moved on and started working at the Barracks, another media company. And I wanted to try something different where I'm kind of working with everyone and not just like my crew. And so the Barracks is a big skateboard media company. I was doing brand partnerships, which is essentially sales, and just not my cup of tea. Like the partnership side, sick. Like talk to different people, ideas, whatever. But at the end of the day, like I had to sell things, and it just not. I hate the word authentic, but it's not authentic to who I am. So, but I did that for quite a while. Then I wanted to get back in marketing. Went to Element Skateboards. Not even a month before this whole pandemic hit. But I was happy to get back into marketing. Got furloughed, and now I'm in Igloo as a senior category manager, and I'm really happy because Element was cool. I still have friends there. Everything, nothing bad about Element, but the Igloo position is it's not. I'm not in action sports. It's adjacent to action sports because I'm the action sports category manager.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a bigger kind of corporate environment outside of skateboarding technically, and then obviously everything else that goes along with that is better. So that's where I'm at.
Wow.
I don't know if that was a long version or if it kind of ignored some of the nitty gritty, but.
No, I mean, it's an incredible evolution, and it's something that we talk about with our clients a lot, is that your career path and the brands that you've helped and all of your accomplishments really stem from the fact that you've been involved in the space that you're so passionate about. And all the small business owners that we work with are obviously passionate about what they're doing, or they wouldn't be doing it. Mm-hmm. So we are always trying to translate that passion into the marketing, because ultimately that's what's going to get your audience to care and to want to listen to you if they know that you're speaking from a place where you really care. It's not just something that you are trying to pass through, like Margaret said, you know, for money or anything like that. It's just really stemming from who you are as a person. And you are uniquely positioned to kind of have that career path that nobody else could have done, except maybe your twin.
Yeah. But he went the more art route. Like he's, you know, he's an art director now. And sometimes I think that would have been served me better. But I've always had a little bit stronger people skills than him. But yeah. And then to your point too.
No offense, Mike.
to your point too, Faryn, because I'm always I like to help younger people coming up. I always have, whether it's like some, back when people use Facebook more, like some random kids hitting people on Facebook, and I'm end up having a 2-hour conversation with them because they're asking the right questions. They're not asking like, hey, put me on Ashbury or put me in Videographs. They're like, how do I get there? And it's like,
I love it.
That's the unlock for me. It's like, you ask that question, how do I get where you are or where whatever? I'm into that. And then, so I've always taken those conversations, and it's funny because with Facebook, I'll like look back, I'll see a name like 10 years later. I'm like, man, that name sounds familiar. And I look back and like, dang, that kid is the kid that was hitting me up on Facebook. Now he's a pro snowboarder. Like, that's really sick. It's really cool. But I take those conversations, and when people ask me how do they get involved, and so this goes with whatever whatever anyone's working in, but they're asking me about skateboarding and snowboarding because there's some sort of, it's romantic to these kids, right? To be involved. It's like, how do I get involved? And I always tell them, stay involved. You want to work in skateboarding? Be involved in skateboarding. Skateboard, meet friends. Your networking is not what you think your networking is. Your networking is meeting people who skate, because in 5 years they'll be, working in the industry. And then go to events and talk to people, and then you're 10 steps closer to where your goal is. Where if you're not involved and you're just like sitting at home watching Mandalorian with your free time, but you want to be working in, nothing wrong with watching Mandalorian in your free time, but you want to be working in the skateboard industry, but you're letting all of that whole world go past you by, then you don't deserve to be in that industry. And so yeah, that's a longer version of your point.
Okay, well, Lance, that's awesome. I think you probably spoke to all different types of people and their different careers, and like the passion and following that, and even like, yeah, it's great. And I love the mentoring of people that are coming up. And actually, our newest employee, Hannah, she came up to me at an event, and she just started asking me questions. How did you get into social media? How did you? And her and I had never met before. She just knew of me through a friend. And I was just blown away by that. And she wasn't asking me for a job or anything. And she ended up, that enthusiasm was everything. And so it just so happened that about 2 weeks later, we needed someone, and we hired her.
They stand out, right? They stand out. This person,
absolutely,
asking the right questions is almost as important as having the right answers.
Yes. Now, I know we want to talk about influencers. And before we do that, I want to just also say something, and I hope I can say this correctly.
Depends on how much coffee you've had.
Yeah, I've had quite a bit. So turning 40 in December, right? Obviously, there's been a lead up. It's not like I was 30 yesterday and now it's in a couple weeks, I'm 40. But it just so happens in the last like 2 months, it's all of these things happening at once to remind me that I'm like moving into a new season. One of those is the fact that I was working with one of our clients, Faryn, and they're definitely much younger, and that's awesome. And they're learning from us and learning. Yeah, good for them. But the way she was talking to me, it was super respectful. I mean, just totally like being really complimenting. But the way she was talking to me was like, I was like the elder, experienced. And I just thought, how did this change? And I don't want to use her exact verbiage because it's not very PC what she had said, but it was funny, very respectful to me. And again, it was great, but I just couldn't believe it. I said, please don't let me into that. And she said, no, I'm sorry. I know you. But the fact was that there was respect there for my experience. And now all of a sudden in rooms, you know, we're really involved in NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners. And I was on a call, a Zoom with probably about 15, 20 other women. And they asked around, like, who's been a member the longest? And normally I feel like in these situations, I'm never at the top of that list.
Mm-hmm.
On this particular call, I had been a member the longest. And I thought, what is happening?
Yeah.
And people are commenting on how long have you been open? How long has your agency been open? 12 years. And they're just blown away that our agency has been open for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How long have you been open for? Or how long
12 years next month.
Crazy.
It's amazing.
So that's why I'm saying, like, you were talking about how when you first got started and you were an influencer,
Mm-hmm.
but before it was social media. I mean, when Faryn and I lived in New York, it was all about MySpace. Faryn wasn't even on. She could care less about MySpace.
No, I was not it. I was working at the traditional advertising agency doing print and TV, and digital was the afterthought. We need to give some assets to those digital people down the hall. It wasn't anything.
Those weirdos.
You know, it's funny, when I started Ashbury in 2007, we had no money, right? Like nothing outside of like what we absolutely had to spend. And I had started a blog spot like for myself, just because like my photographer friend had one. I was like, that sounds fun. And I'd post like our Halloween photos on it or something. And then when I started Ashburn, I'm like, okay, I have no money. I'm going to start a blog, because if I don't have money, Ashburn needs to have a culture so kids can grab onto it, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't exactly know what I was doing. I just started posting on it every single day and like pulling back the curtain on our world. And by doing that every day, it quickly turned into something that kids were checking every single day. And even like the people at the biggest magazines I'd take a photo and like, oh, I'm going to be on the Ashbury blog. And it became like a media site, and people would other brands would hit me up to advertise. Can we advertise on your site? I'm like, no, we're a brand. We're not whatever. And it's kind of that afterthought. And then I got lucky by starting the blog, not as afterthought, but as a kind of like, I'm in the corner, right? I'm backed up into a corner. And now that has given me so much insight to how social media is important. Mm-hmm. You know, pure luck, because it like Faryn is saying, it's something that let's get those people some digital assets. And I was lucky enough to be, even though I was starting my own business, to be someone who like needed digital assets. I was creating myself and whatever. And now we are here where that's the most important place to spend your money.
Okay, so I disagree that it was pure luck, because you took the initiative, and too many people second guess themselves, Lance, and especially at the small business level. So I know you're working in corporate America, but you've lived the small business life. You have a lot of family and friends who have had small businesses and continue to have small businesses. Think about the small business person who thinks, why would I start a blog? Nobody's reading it. So they never want to start it. I mean, I talk to these people every single day. Why do I need? And it's like, be wildly excited about the possibilities. That's all I can say. Mm-hmm. Put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's like, actually, that's might be the best point to make to someone who's starting their own business, because no one's gonna know. Anytime someone posts the first blog, the first Instagram post, the first whatever it is, your viewership is zero.
Right.
The gate. So it's consistency. So even let's say you commit, I'm going to do a podcast once a week. Mm-hmm. 3 months into it, your viewership is 8, 9 views. Mm-hmm. 6 months into it, it's 12. Mm-hmm. You have to keep doing it. Consistency. A, you're getting out all your kinks when you suck at it. And B, you're getting way better at it. You're understanding your process, and you're waiting for that moment where it clicks. Because usually it's a moment, like the right person sees it, the right person talks about it or whatever. Or, everything shifts, and all of a sudden everyone needs to learn. All of a sudden there's a bunch of people who want to learn about social media, and then they click on your thing, or because you've done so much work, the like Google spiders find you super quickly, and they every time they answer, it's like there's like your podcast about it, and you're just all of a sudden you're a wealth of information for everyone. And so whatever it is, like I think like being afraid of not having any viewership is totally the wrong attitude. You need to do it for you need to do your podcast, do your blog, do your Instagram for the blog, the podcast, or the Instagram itself, and that's it.
Yeah, I love that. Love. A fun fact and I'm glad I'm remembering this from what you just said. When I first started the company, it was only me, obviously. And I said, I'm going to blog and I am going to send out my email newsletter, even if my mom and my grandma are the only ones who read it. And about a year and a half into doing that, I get a call from a company in LA who hired me to do some work. I was shocked, by the way. Okay, I'll just I can say that now. I was shocked that they found me and hired me. And about a month into working with them, I said, how did you find me? She said, oh, I did a Google search and I found your blog. And so she immediately said, like, you're credible, you're likable. And that was it. And so they were our client for like 5 years, and then, had to hire their own internal team. And they were a huge company. Yep.
I mean, think about that. That's why a resume means something, right? Because people want to hire someone who already is doing it. And so same with everything else you're doing. If you're already doing it, then they could just plug you right in. If like when back to it's as easiest for me because a lot of kids come up to me about this. Like the kid they want to film for Videographs, and they're a really good snowboarder, or they're a decent snowboarder, whatever they are, and they want to know how to get in. I'm like, all right, well, who's your favorite snowboarder? And they tell me Louis Paradis or whatever. Not that name means anything to anyone, but I'll be okay. We'll film a video part that's as good or better than his. And they're just like, I'm like, go do it with your friends. With your friends, film a part that's better than the whips. And then they'll never do that, right? Because that particular person, that his name always got brought up, they're not going to film a better part than his. But it puts in perspective. If there's 16 spots to film in the video you want to be in every year, maybe 1 or 2 are open. And who's going to get that spot? Just like some guy who's like, one day if I get the opportunity, I'm going to film an amazing video part. Or the person's like, yo, do you see this guy's part that I found on YouTube? Let's put him in there. And that's how you get it, right? By like,
that's right.
Yeah. By already doing it.
Initiative. It's all about initiative. Okay. Tell us your take on influencers.
So influencers, it's like a pet peeve of mine, right? Because everyone's talking about it, and then you see the influencers. You go on a beautiful hike out in the mountains, and you see some chick or whatever like this in front of the lake, and with the arms out, and you're just like, at least you're out in this beautiful place. Like, that's awesome. But people they're not looking at what an influencer properly should be. Like, say, like you take the word, like a virtuous influence, take the word virtue for what it really means, like basically a pristine example of what that is. They're just taking influencers as someone who just has a lot of followers and who posts pretty pictures. That can mean nothing. And that's why micro-influencers became so big. But then people go and they think a micro-influencer is someone who just has less followers. And so it's more potent. It's like, all you guys are doing is looking at the numbers. You just look at the numbers. An influencer, to me, okay, this is my opinion. So I guess
I have a feeling, and I told this to Faryn, I said, I have a feeling that we all have the same opinions about influencers. I just have a weird feeling. So continue.
I assume you're right. But when something, I'm like a really even-keeled, mellow dude, but when something like gets me fired up, I feel like I'm so overpowering and like that sometimes I could turn people off, and they think that I think my opinion is end all be all. It's like, no, you can think whatever you want, but this is what I think. Super passionate.
Tell us.
So an influencer really should be someone who is an expert at something. So if you have 10,000 followers, let's say micro-influencer, right? If you have 10,000 followers and you are just an attractive person who buys a lot of new clothes, but who doesn't necessarily have good taste. Because you can be an influencer by just your taste is impeccable, right?
Right.
And you just travel all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That is nothing for nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But if you're like, let's say you are, let's say you're just really like, this is to take something that maybe those people are going for, right? You are so good at finding the best, most underground restaurants when you travel. And you have 10,000 followers, you're traveling the same places this person's going to, the other person, right? That just has 10,000 followers, but you're really good at finding all these restaurants. Also, you're actually an influencer because you're giving people a reason to follow you that actually influences decisions they make. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, we're like in my industry, like being a skateboarder or a snowboarder, it's easy, right? Like my fiance has like 250,000 followers on Instagram because she's a really good skater. And so, and then if there's another skater who is like, say, a pretty face, and there are a lot of pretty girls who are skating who have big followers, but their influence is a different way because they're activating young girls to skate. So I'm not talking about them because they're controversial in skateboarding and they actually think those skaters have a place. But if you're just like, she's good at something, right? So her voice matters.
She has an expertise.
Yeah, the expertise, yeah.
She's not just holding a skateboard and skateboard accessories, but doesn't know how to use it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like we did in 6th grade when we tried to pretend like we knew how to skate.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had extreme board shop windbreakers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Continue.
but I even the skateboard thing is less of a good example. Is like I said, like the travel thing. Like who's that? This is gonna sound dumb, but that super famous guy with like kind of white gray hair.
Bourdain, the one who just died.
Anthony Bourdain. Yeah, I never followed him or anything.
Me neither.
What'd that do? What did he do? He traveled and he ate food and whatever.
Yeah.
He was super good at traveling. Like you actually learn from his ability to travel. So he's an influencer, right? He was like a super Kardashian level influencer. Mm-hmm. But too many people are just like, they just like, I went on this trip with a car company and they brought me, someone from Hypebeast, because I worked with Hypebeast, and then there was like some influencers, and we sat with this influencer chick at dinner, and she's really nice, but I was talking to her and I was like, I realized quickly, like this is, and I looked at her Instagram, she was just a chick that had a lot of followers and traveled a lot. She wasn't going to influence anyone into buying that car. But if the chick would have been someone who like, you know, can get to rugged areas and had some sort of expertise, then same amount of followers, same, you know, attractiveness level, same everything, but had expertise, you go so much further with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is a lesson in how you choose your influencers, and then how influencers become influencers, and how they should be concerned with curating their audience, because you could have a massive following and none of them can afford this car. So why would, you know what I mean?
And half of them could be not even real accounts, because as we know, the social media machine can feed itself. And influencers are being influenced by influencers. And what's that crazy festival that didn't happen? Fire Festival.
Oh, yeah.
So, right. So you think about that, exactly what you're saying, Lance. People just putting together the image that seems to be working for everybody else. That could be something that is table stakes for big companies. Maybe they have to be there. But for smaller companies, for more niche, like specialized small businesses who don't have the budgets, it's not necessary. And all it can do is it can serve to intimidate. It can make you think, oh my gosh, look at all the followers these people have. I'm never going to get to that, so I shouldn't even post anything. But I think what we're saying is you do have a sphere of influence if you are an expert in your field, or if you are passionate about something, and that is more valuable than all the followers in the world that are just kind of following the same format and the same formula as the people standing at the top of the cliff with their arms out, because you can find that anywhere, and that's not going to help add value to any of their followers' lives. If anything, it might make them feel sad that they're not standing on top of a cliff with their arms out. But
yeah, and if you look at what your goal is with working an influencer, your goal is to turn people onto your brand in one form or another, right? Whether that's like conversions or if it's just to get eyes on it and have people respect your brand in the space that influencer works in. And if you, let's say you're Igloo, right? I think Igloo does actually a pretty good job with their influencers, and you want to get someone in the outdoor cooking space. You want to get someone in the cooking space, like a chef or whatever. Or it doesn't have to be a chef, just that, whatever that space is. If you get someone who is just kind of a phony and they're not necessarily honest about their interest in cooking, then the people who are interested in that, just by your verbiage and how you talk about things, you lost them because you're using the wrong words. Because these people really love that and they pay attention. And you get the right person who actually is honest about like being a chef or just a cook or whatever you want to, however you define yourself, people automatically could see right through that. So if you work with the wrong person, not only are you not hitting the people you want to hit, you're actually hurting your end goal.
Right.
And if you pick the right person, because these people are looking for impressions. Mm-hmm. And impressions are great, but it depends on who's looking at it.
Right.
If this person is, if your goal is actually to change these minds, then this person actually changes those minds because they're talking in a way. Like if someone's talking to me about something I know really well, and then there's like a photo of them skating and they're pushing with the wrong foot, like that's it. I might block them, you know? Yeah.
No, I totally get it. But I mean, so going back to like our audience, you know, the small business, thinking about influencers, thinking about their numbers, like we want to get our numbers up. You know, if they want to work with influencers, they're thinking they need to have, you know, someone with these hundreds of thousands of followers, or they need to have hundreds of thousands of followers, or even just thousands of followers. And it's getting them to understand past the numbers. Numbers are wonderful. Who doesn't want their numbers to grow? But it's like going back to what you said, Lance, we tie everything back to our goals. What are our goals? And I have seen influencers hurt a brand before because the influencer itself, like talking about what we talked about at the very beginning, the relationship building, authenticity, word you hate. But if an influencer is acting like they're God's gift to the world and to the brand, people are not connecting with that. I mean, if you really look at it, I was just talking about, I don't follow many celebrities on social media. Actually, I think I only follow one. Would you like to know who that is? Vanessa Bryant.
Would she be a celebrity?
I think so.
Okay.
To me, I mean, I think she could have an A-list table anywhere she wanted.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So barometer.
She's the only person I follow. And although I know that she has, you know, so much clout, and I know that she has things that are completely out of my budget, her social media presence is like so relatable. Wildly. It's relatable, it's relationship, it's normal. What I would say normal. And I'm just saying that to say that like there are people with a lot less clout than Vanessa Bryant that act like they are God's gift to the world. And it's like, I want nothing. Those are the people I'm like, block, no thank you. Because you making people feel bad about themselves, you're not going to make me feel bad about myself, but I know that there are people on social media that are gauging their life with what you're posting.
Yeah.
Not cool with me. So like bring people together, right? It's like that's a powerful influencer. Not
or if you're gonna think you're God's gift, because it can work, then you have to make it work for you. You know, like look at Kanye has a very high opinion of himself, and it works for a lot of people, even if you're just amused by it or whatever.
Yeah.
But he also like I don't listen to any new rap, so I can't really speak on his rap. But the fact that he is really good at it, and he's a really good producer, and he accomplishes what he says he's going to accomplish. So when he acts like he's God's gift to what he does, and then he actually is accomplishing that, you can accept it at that point. But there's a lot of people who just have that complex without the accomplishment.
Right. Well, and
I'm not making any sort of stance on Kanye or anything. I just
but he's a celebrity, so he's on like a different level, you know. It's like,
but you never know what's gonna all of a sudden be the next trend or the next category that is going to catapult people who are experts in their field to celebrity status. Like before Marie Kondo came out, who would have thought that home organizing could become such a high level A-list? The home edit,
oh my gosh,
show on Netflix, and their Instagram is humongous, and they're organizing celebrity homes. But this concept of organizing, it's helping people in their own lives. People take a lot of value from the content they put out. And that's just a perfect example of a category where they are experts in their field and they have grown their influence authentically that way. Authentic.
Magnolia Farms people, what are their names?
Oh, Chip and Joanna.
Chip and Joanna. Oh my gosh. I don't follow them, but I do love them. Remember, I started watching their show super late, like this year. But same thing, super influential, super down to earth. I know we kind of talked all over the place about influencers, but I think at the end of the day, what you could grab from this is that watch those numbers, like go past the numbers, think about your goals, and don't think because your small business your business is not at a certain level of followers that you're not influential, because as a matter of fact, you do have a sphere of influence.
Yep. And kind of there's I was just thinking of two things. One is don't think of it as digital marketing, because then you're gonna think of all these things that you're supposed to think of. It's like, put yourself in the world, like put yourself in the world that you're trying to move in, and do things that fit within the world and get the numbers afterwards. And then to your point too, with you not following the Magnolia Farms people, I have no idea who they are, but you don't have to follow them for them to influence you, right? Like,
right.
That could be who you go to when you're trying to get information. For example, my old intern has a snowboard magazine now called Torment, and it's small. He has like 18,000 followers on Instagram. It's like not a big social following. But I was talking to him about his impression level, and he's getting like average impression per post of the same that someone would have if they had like a couple 100,000 followers, right? Like he gets more impressions per post than he has followers. And so you can't always just look at that. And what that guy's doing right is he's curating his content. He's touching a lot of the heartstrings for people, where he's doing new like creating new content. He's amplifying other people's content who makes sense for the audience he's trying to attract. Not even necessarily his audience.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be his audience. It's the audience he's trying to attract. And then he's pulling old content that has influenced the content that he's now producing, and it makes this really good thing. So people who don't follow him are seeing it, and then over time, after it keeps getting thrown in their feed or shared, like people are sharing their posts in group DMs. It just grows. And my point being, they're honest about what they're trying to portray.
Yeah. Yep.
I like that. I'm sorry.
No, that makes perfect sense. I think that was well put. And one thing that I would like to add for our Flex Your Influence audience, because I know that taking on anything new in terms of a tactic or marketing can sometimes seem overwhelming, but we do go through it in the master planner. We talk about how to leverage influencers on, whatever scale is appropriate for your business. And another way to think of influencers these are people who, by definition, influence your audience. Therefore, leverage them to help make your product or your service better. Mm-hmm. These are people who you have, an open channel of communication with them. So if you have questions about a new service you're thinking of offering, or if you want to run ideas by them for marketing, you can use them as a sounding board in addition to, an on paper. It's not just a one-way communication channel, I guess is my point, is that this is somebody who you can use to make your own business better.
If you don't trust them to influence your decisions, you're definitely working with the wrong people. Also, and this is with social media in general, and definitely works with influencers, is this should be the part of your business that you're enjoying. Mm-hmm. Like if it's not fun, if you're not having fun with it, or it doesn't have to necessarily be the word fun. If you're not enjoying the process of creating the content or those relationships, it's probably not going to click. Mm-hmm. Because that's why people aren't actually some people are going through social media as just gluttons of punishment, right? Like especially if they're on Twitter, they're just trying to be punished and upset. That definitely exists. But most people, the reason that they're, constantly looking at it is because they're trying to be entertained. And if you're not enjoying the process of creating the entertainment, then they're probably not going to enjoy consuming it.
That's right. That's so right.
Yeah. The process should be fun. Why not? Like everything you're doing, you're balancing your books, you're freaking creating, the LLC, you're hounding people in sales. Because I know in sales, like you're basically there's mostly losses, right? I lost this account, or not lost the account, but like it didn't work out. And then you win one, that's sick. But there's so much of it is tedious. It's like this is the one place where you should enjoy yourself.
You're right. It's an outward expression of your brand. Mm-hmm. So have fun with it.
Mm-hmm. I am all about your business needs to be fun. And I constantly say that. When I'm sitting down in a sales meeting, I'm like, I'm just going to tell you that we're going to have fun working together. Mm-hmm. Because I will shut the doors of this business the minute I'm not having fun anymore. Mm-hmm. Because I can work anywhere and not have fun.
Yep.
And some things are boring, some things are tedious, but I mean, we have a great time. We love what we do. And your marketing needs to be birthed out of creativity and ideas and all of that. So if it's not, something's broken.
Yeah, broken for sure. Fix it.
Yeah.
Mike's daughter, my niece, said that to me yesterday. She was trying to FaceTime me while I was driving, and I couldn't because I was like looking at her. She's like, "Fix it."
How old is she now?
She'll be 3. She's like 2 now.
Oh.
But what else?
Super cute.
Yes, she's so cute.
Well, I know we've been on for quite a bit, and this has been so much fun, Lance. I feel like we have a lot that we could talk about because there's still things I would love to be able to ask you too, but we will save that for another show.
When he has his mug.
Yeah, when he has his mug, his proper mug. And I mean, we're just so happy just to have another voice here in such a different field, as you've heard Lance talk about. But in the end, we look past the numbers when you are looking at your influencers. If you are doing something that you're passionate about and you've built a business around it, it's okay to admit, I don't know how to market. I don't know how to sell, and find support. Whether you find that with Socialize LA or whether you find that with someone else, we're here. Like Lance was saying earlier, like we're not going live here just to get you to buy our product. We're here because we want to impart wisdom. That's what Coffee Talk is all about. And Lance, if you don't already know this, I've built this company 100% on building solid relationships. I don't like to dangle carrots and get people to do business with us sneakily or push them into anything. People do business with us when they're ready to. And yeah, I mean, Faryn probably would like me to be a little more aggressive when it comes to sales.
Do your thing.
Yeah, do our thing. I mean, it's so funny because we're all here wanting and watching the company grow. I mean, we hired 2 employees, like legit employees, during the pandemic. I mean, and we were hit pretty hard at the very beginning. But I take calculated risks, and we're doing great work, right, Faryn?
Oh yeah, Margaret practices what she preaches, knowing that she can't do everything herself, so she is hiring people, and I'm just so proud to be part of the team and just so grateful that we have this opportunity.
Can I add one more thing, actually? So knowing that you can't do anything yourself, I imagine that a lot of obviously a lot of people that are maybe watching this or working with you, maybe they do have some insecurities about social media and stuff. And like, you know, me at my age, like I'm not in the nitty gritty anymore. I don't have all the best taste or all the answers anymore. But the important part is knowing where to get it. So if you're trying to start a social channel and you're like, this is crazy to me, I don't even know where to start, that's fine. Just find someone that does.
Yeah.
And I think that's something important.
Yeah, super important. Okay, the last thing that I will leave you with is if you wanted to start thinking about your influencers, we are going to be beefing up that part of our business for 2021 as well, just coming together and collaborating with other people who do small business, you know, work with small businesses. If you watch our channels, we also have the money and marketing segment. That's a collaboration with another company, all about money and marketing. So that's us and a CPA firm, TMS, out of Philadelphia. So think about that. Make a list of people. Look at your social media. Look at your goals. Look at your vertical, your target audience. Who else is targeting those people? And start making a wish list. And then you need to also think about your approach to these people. It's not just, here's our link, put us out there. Like there's a way to build that relationship. So anyway, that's a lot of info. And I want to thank everyone for watching and those who are going to watch later. Lance, just so you know, this is put across all of our channels, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, our Facebook group, LinkedIn, not on Instagram because it'll be later on Instagram. But yeah, so I want to thank you, Lance, for being here with us.
Thank you. And one more thing, everyone take what I say with a grain of salt because you got to do what's best for you. And, you know, I definitely am I don't know everything.
No, you're awesome. But that's true. We're not like what we're talking about. Everyone's situations are different. I mean, here we are, a 12-year-old agency. In our 12th year is when I hired someone specifically to work on only our marketing. So up until now, it's been mostly me doing the marketing. And now we have Teresa, who joined our team about 2 months ago. So you definitely have seen a change in our social media. And all of that is her energy. She's been amazing.
Awesome. And Lance, your perspective is just it's like a breath of fresh air because it is so unique. That experience that you've had in action sports and just also as a personal side growing up with you, it's just so cool to hear you talk about how your personal and professional life has intersected over the years and find out that we share a lot of the same point of view when it comes to marketing and, you know, what's going to work and what might not. So we just really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with our audience today.
Thank you.
Yep. I wonder if there's ever going to be an opportunity where the three of us could work together on a project.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, right. It took a while for us to understand how me and Faryn could work together, though. As close as we are, as friends, like I still didn't know how we were going to work together until we just like made it happen one day. It was like, okay, can you do this now? And so it was like, okay, that's how it works. So that would be amazing to work on a project together. So who knows? Anything could happen. Yeah.
Let's talk next time we all get dinner.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't wait.
We'll invite N and E. Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you.